Hey everybody, Greg Ruff here with Abstract Contact Center KPI podcast. We are here today with Daniel Foppen, product and product marketing leader at Convoso. Daniel has 20 plus years in the CX space, working sales, customer service, and today we're going to be talking outbound contact rate from a sales use case, which anybody who's making phone calls for a living, that contact rate, being able to get people on the phone knows how important that is. So really excited to dive into this topic with Daniel. Daniel, please take a moment and say hi.
Hey Greg, great to be here. Excited to talk about this topic. It's definitely something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something we've talked about before. Typically we're looking at like handle time, stuff like that from like a service and support standpoint. We haven't had a lot of opportunities to talk sales, and again, getting people on the phone is the first step. So we have a lot of customers using Convoso. I know one of the big drivers for them is your guys' premium carriers and the contact rate on those phone calls. So I think there's some good synergy here in a lot of different areas. But why pick this topic? Why are you passionate about it?
So I've been in this in the CX space for 20 years. I've worked both in startups and large enterprises with digital experiences, contact centers, AI automation, etc. A long time I've worked in customer service, so I'm very familiar with your average handle time, first call resolution, CSAT, NPS, CES, customer average score. Is that still around? That was a hot topic for a while. I've seen them all. I've lived them all. I know a lot of your audience are living against these metrics every day here. So I wanted to talk about contact rate or connection rate. Some people use a different name for that. This is the most important KPI when you're doing outbound dialing, when you're an outbound call center, meaning you call customers, you call leads here. And I know that a lot of your viewers are sitting in the world of customer service. So why is this relevant for me? I got a prediction here. I think if you're running today a customer service team, you're having your inbound call center or contact center operations, sooner than later, you're going to be asked. You're going to be asked to figure out how to do outbound dialing here. So I think this is something that will become more and more important for the audience of this podcast and also the general audience of people that run customer service organizations here. This is going to happen, yes or no? So I just want to really spend a bit of time talking about why contact rate.
All right, so let's just pause right here. Why do you believe this to be coming down the pipeline?
So again, I've been in this space for 20 years. Roughly 10 years ago, we have contact centers, right? Because it's not phone. We also do email. We also do chat. All these modern channels, all cool. But we saw this thing happening with digital, the digital experience. What does that mean? Well, there's data sitting in our database in some kind of back office system that measures or that recognizes something happens, an event happens. And then we have these event-based notification systems that will proactively send a notification to the customer. Hey, you're overseas, your balance is about to go below, or your subscription is about to expire. Do you want to contact us, or do you want to renew? Here's a link. There's a lot of those automated systems that have been put in place over the last years that really are good because they offer a better experience. For me as a consumer, I love that when I get a proactive notification that something happened or something is about to happen, or here's some recommendation how you can get more value out of the service, the product that you get from us. Now that's all, right? That's all systems based. And I believe now the same is going to happen in the world of telephony. Right? Today, we have always been working in the modus of if I, as a consumer, have a problem, it's up to me to take the initiative, right? Go to the back of this little product and find the phone number, call, then go to all the beautiful IVR trees and finally get to the right person and then explain my problem. Probably have to explain it 2 or 3 more times before I finally get to the right person.
Yeah.
Experience, right? So I love the idea of hey, instead of me having to reach out to get my issue solved, it would be great if somebody else could call me to solve my issues beforehand.
almost like everything's connected to the internet, right? And so you almost, why is your product not sending stuff to a customer support team to then trigger a phone call, right? Like it goes back to like a conversation we have with Breville's customer support team, right? Like why can they charge so much for some of their premium products? It's because their support and there's an app to let them know when their coffee machine's not working, what to proactively do to ensure their coffee's brewed correctly. Um, it's an interesting, it's a proactive approach to support when you have everything connected to technology in the first place. My truck gave me, I didn't even know that the check engine light was on. Didn't even pay attention to it. Truck sent me an email saying, "Hey, your check engine light's on. Here's a link to the closest dealer. Go book an appointment." Right? Imagine if someone called me, right? If I wasn't paying attention to my email. So I love that idea. How long have you been thinking about this?
I've been doing it from a digital side and how to connect that digital side to the reality of contact centers, probably 7, 8 years now, so a while. And coincidentally, that allows for conversation like, hey, it would be great if we can have, instead of customer service being a cost center, it become a profit center. So once I build a stronger connection with the consumer, my customer, and I can position myself as a trusted advisor, that will lead to more loyalty. I will be able to upsell all the kind of stuff. So I've been
Yeah.
doing that for a while in the world of customer service, and then recently, a year and a half ago, I changed to a sales-oriented call center platform vendor. That's where I work right now, Convoso, where they do this day in, day out, right? So they are in the business of dialing, connecting with leads or with existing customers to sell them insurances or services or bathroom remodels, things like that here. So this suddenly felt like going full circle, finally seeing, oh wait, there's actually a human side to that as well. That
Yeah.
I've been dreaming about for a long time. It's very difficult to do if you're a large enterprise to have like a data-driven, proactive outbound notification system that involves humans because archaic systems, complex processes. We know how hard it is to do it in large enterprises here. But I'm very hopeful now that because it changes in technology, and I'm seeing now how it can be applied in the world of sales, we can also apply that in the world of customer service. And I've seen more and more interest actually coming now from large enterprise companies that are trying to see, hey, it's not enough for us to send an email, right? I got to really focus on keeping this customer. I got to call them and got to reach out to them. And that's really difficult, really, really challenging. We can go a bit
It
more
is.
deeper into that a bit later here.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. It's like everything that's old is new again, right? Everybody talked about moving away from phone calls, and it's almost like people have been so saturated with emails and the little red dots on their phone that now if you want to draw somebody's attention to something, you have to pick up the phone and call them. It's just it's fascinating how kind of things come full circle. So let's talk a little bit about bringing us back to topic, kind of full circle here. Um, Contact rate. So actually getting a hold of people. Maybe as a company you decided we are going to be proactive in outbound phone calls, whether it's from a sales or support perspective. What's a stereotypical contact rate? If I call 100 people, how many should I expect to get a hold of?
5%.
5%? Seems about right. I was going to say 5 to 8%. So it seems about right.
Yeah, but
Um,
what you don't realize, so what that means is that if you're doing outbound dialing with a let's call it standard CCAS platform, that means, hey, I go into my CRM, I see Greg, I click the number, the phone rings. That means me as an agent, I'm sitting 95% of the time waiting for dial tones or answer machine messages, right? That's a very
that's a lot of time.
time. Yeah,
That's a lot of time.
95% contact rate means that a tremendous loss of productivity here if you do
Yep.
this in the wrong way. Yeah.
So then we get into power dialing, predictive dialing, things like that. So you start adding in some of those elements or features of different phone systems. What do we see that contact rate go up to at that point?
Yeah, so it really depends on. I would say in our customer base, we see somewhere between less than 1% to maybe 25 to 30%. So it really
Oh,
depends
wow.
on a lot of different things.
Okay.
Um, the 30% is huge. That's a very
That's massive.
Best of breed, basically. That's very difficult to beat that. Um, if you're in sales and you're trying to reach people, obviously contact rate is not the only thing you want to focus on, because hey, getting someone to pick up the phone doesn't mean you actually close the deal, right? There's always conversion there, but as a proxy, because outbound dialing at scale is so challenging, contact rate is the most important measure to focus on. Because if you think about what is going to drive, if you just from a consumer perspective, if you're a lead, you left the information behind in a form, you want to receive information about 4 different car insurance packages,
Mhm.
right? Phone call, and it says spam likely. What are you going to do?
Ignore.
Yep, you're going to throw the phone away, right? That is a reality for most of those calls. Like they're being flagged as spam or scam likely, even worse.
Yep.
That is a huge challenge for organizations, because if you want your agents to be productive, you got to do high volume dialing, right? You got to dial a bunch of calls in parallel, because only a few percent of them will actually pick up the phone in order to get agent predictive, and you need to have that dynamically adjusted to really keep your sellers on the phone, or your service agents that sell to existing customers maximally talking to their customers or lead here. That high volume means, though, that you get into the territory of some of the folks that may sound very similar, the spammers and the scammers, right? There is, I'm very aware of that. There's a lot of bad apples out there. People that are really using whatever cheap technology to get to just blow a tremendous amount of calls through and leads through, and then that's called hammering it, hammering a list with hundreds of thousands of millions of leads there. Um, we steer away from that, right? Because that is really causing a lot of the bad name, the bad reputation that exists in the telemarketing industry and outbound call center industry here. We deal with legit businesses here that need to place high volumes of calls because they need to keep their agents productive, right? It's a business. In the end, they need to have the productivity in there. But dealing with all the algorithms from AT&T, from Verizon, from all the carriers that help with flagging the bad apples and filtering out the bad apples. So that's a constant balancing game, right? So you have legit business that do need to do something that looks like spamming or scamming, but have real reasons here. So we help those kind of businesses with making sure that those numbers are not being flagged as spam or scam likely.
Yeah.
There's many different ways we can do that. It comes down to making sure you work with legit carriers. It comes down to make sure that you do things in a intelligent way, run your campaigns in an intelligent way. There's a lot around um, com- com- compliance related, know your customer processes and getting the right A-level attestation so that all your reputation capabilities are being managed right, and also monitoring and managing whenever the flags do happen here. So that's a big part of driving success rate, a good contact rate, and another big part of it is just doing really well with answer machine detection. Right, there's a very it's not a productivity killer component here. It's actually very costly to have a call being placed and then have to wait for an answer machine message to be played and then leave a message behind. You know, this barely leads to the results here. So good answer machine detection is a big part as well.
Yeah. So, what I'm hearing, so something you said earlier was interesting, where it's not just, increasing contact rate doesn't just lead to more opportunities for conversion or contact with a customer, but also leads to less downtime from an agent perspective. So if I'm making 100 phone calls a day, 95 of them are for garbage, I'm sitting around doing nothing for a large part of the day, which is wasted, resources. And
Yeah,
so focusing on increasing your outbound contact rate allows you to utilize your resources efficiently while also increasing top line. So you get a top line and a bottom line benefit almost to just
mhm.
this one metric. Um, for companies that are maybe thinking about starting an initiative around outbound dialing, what are some of the maybe one or two things you would encourage them to look at internally in terms of like, hey, are we ready for this? Does it make sense for us to do this? We can keep it, and maybe let's get a little specific, right? A couple things I
Yeah.
should do to determine whether I'm ready for this.
Okay, so first thing to realize is that a traditional CCaaS platform, telephony platform, will not do much to help you with doing outbound dialing at scale, right? The underlying technology is fundamentally different here. So make sure that your platform is supported here. Um, there is a lot around compliance that is often overlooked here. So I was at a conference last week and spending some time with some of the lawyers that are active in the space. It is mind-bogglingly complex. Like the Telemarketing Consumer Protection Act, TCPA, has a
Hmm.
lot of stipulations about what you can do, what's allowed, what's not allowed. There's do not call lists. Do not. You got to scrub your numbers. There's reassign numbers. I think up to 40% of all of mobile phone numbers, they were created in some place, and then the people are moving around, right? And some of them they just cancel the number, and then they are reassigned here. That means that you have to be compliant with that as well. TCPA, there's like I think 11 or 12 different states have their own version of that, right? So how often can you call a day? What is the window that you can call? Are you allowed to call during the state holidays? Do you record? Do you provide the right disclosures? Are you registered to do outbound dialing in that state? Do you have existing business relationships? Do you have opt-in data? So it becomes very, very challenging very quickly um, to do this in a compliant way. And what's really important to realize is that the TCPA stipulates what lawyers call private right of action. That means that any citizen can sue a company in violation because they think they're in violation of TCPA. It's one of the most litigated industries here that we see here. And that's if you're a call center, a contact center, work for a brand, right? And you have a brand to protect. You have a reputation to protect. You really don't want to be tarnished with lawsuits of customers that say, "Hey, you contact me in the wrong way," because we have these laws here. So, for me, that's the biggest thing that I don't think people that are working in, for example, brands, customer service departments that want to do outbound dialing, that they have no visibility on how tremendously complex the whole compliance aspect can be. So
I
that's
mean,
really important to figure
it's
out.
it's a full-time job understanding that, right? Like if you're starting a company, and maybe you're thinking like outbound dialing is going to be something that we're just going to try out, like you can put yourself out of business by not doing it right real fast. And so having a partner who understands that world, um, and provides the technology, right, is kind of two for one. So that's always super helpful.
And the right
Uh,
partner.
yeah, find the right partner. Um, Kind of final parting thoughts here, Daniel. What have you seen people do wrong? Like what do I not do? Right? Obviously, like let's try to keep it vendor agnostic. Like how do I go about messing up my outbound dialing motion?
Um, don't assume that if you just start power dialing, I'm going to call numbers one after the other, and every 5 minutes until somebody picks up, that's going to be successful for you. That's a very quick way to get flagged as a spam likely now organization. You're going to get into trouble very quickly. You need to understand how DIDs work, the direct inward dialing numbers, your phone numbers you use. You need to understand how to use local area code strategies, how to do dialing strategies, meaning connect people intelligently within all the constraints that the local laws give. Um, don't don't just assume that your existing platform, your CCaaS platform that works really well for inbound will also help for outbound, right? Because that's just going to kill your productivity. Those are a few things that come to mind here.
That was perfect. That was good. I asked for one and I got a couple. So over delivered, Daniel. Thank you. Um, this has been super informative. I mean, we covered everything from kind of looking at vendors, conversion rates, what you could expect, compliance, legal issues. Talked a lot about a lot of stuff in the past 19 minutes. I appreciate your time today, Daniel. Um, any parting thoughts, anything you want to leave our listeners with today?
This is
Maybe
a
a
very,
song
very
from guitars. You want to
uh,
sing a song with your guitars? No?
again
Okay.
as someone that no, I won't bother you guys with
Okay.
that. I just learned a new song. No, as someone that's been in the customer service space and the CX space for a long time, I'm fascinated by the outbound call center world because it's tremendously dynamic. Right, there's so much things happening all the time, and it's fun to be there. But for me, the idea of if you're today in the world of customer service, and yeah, you have a bit of the digital stuff, but that's a digital team. They take care of it. I just have to deal with
Yeah.
agents and routing and queues, right? I would start reimagining a job and start taking a bit of a page out of the telemarketing playbook because you got to at least understand that world a bit to be successful in the long run.
Yeah, and like don't have a negative. I think there's so much negative connotation associated with the word telemarketing, and I think you need to kind of like shy away from that. And I've always, I, I'm never going to be irritated if you're calling me for a valuable reason, right? To tell me if you have a good reason to call me, like I'm going to be okay with that. It's when you're like spamming me with something that I don't need, like a timeshare, in South Africa or something. Like probably don't need to call me with that. If you're calling me for a good reason, like I don't see why companies shouldn't do that more. So I agree with you. I'd love to see that instituted more, especially any type of consumer products, high ticket consumer products where you can support it with the price of what that consumer's paying. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. I think it's great.
Think of your contact center agents that are doing outbound dialing as your customers concierge services.
Yeah,
That's your
I
full
love that.
solutions. That's your American Platinum experience, American Express Platinum experience. That's how we need to start imagining those folks to be operating here.
I love that. Not a sales team, it's a concierge team. Love that. Love that. All right. Well, Daniel, pleasure. Really appreciate your time today. This has been super helpful. I think our listeners will appreciate the change of kind of context and topic. And I know, again, we have some mutual customers. I'm going to send them this after, so because they're always kind of looking at ways to rethink things and things to pay attention to. So really appreciate your time today, Daniel.
Absolutely. Great conversation. Thanks for the great questions.
Yeah, thank you.